The tragic death of Trevor Francis from a heart attack at his home in Spain shocked the football world, but his incredible life story shows why he became a true legend. When the football icon passed away on July 24, 2023, at age 69, tributes poured in from everywhere. Nottingham Forest called him a true legend who will never be forgotten, while Birmingham City described him as the player everyone wanted to see. Former teammates like Gary Lineker and Peter Shilton remembered him not just for his amazing football skills, but as a wonderful gentleman and an extremely nice person. Trevor Francis was much more than Britain's first million-pound footballer. His story begins long before that historic transfer made headlines. Born in Plymouth, he joined Birmingham City when he was just 15 years old. By 16, he was already playing for the first team, setting a club record that lasted for decades. His talent was obvious from the start. Before his 17th birthday, he scored 4 goals in a single match against Bolton Wanderers. That debut season was incredible. 15 goals in just 22 appearances. Throughout his time at Birmingham City, Francis became a local hero. He scored 113 goals in 330 appearances, making him one of the most beloved players in the club's history. His manager, Freddie Goodwin, compared him to English football legends like Jimmy Greaves and Dennis Law. In October 1976, he scored a memorable goal against Queen's Park Rangers, cutting inside from the touchline and unleashing a powerful 25-yard shot that showed his incredible skill. Francis also gained international experience early through loan spells with the Detroit Express in the North American Soccer League. In 1978, he scored 22 goals in just 19 league matches and was named to the NASL first team alongside global superstars like Franz Beckenbauer. This proved he could perform on any stage, anywhere in the world. By the time he was ready to leave Birmingham, Francis wasn't just a promising youngster anymore. He was a celebrated player with proven quality, a consistent goal scorer, and a seasoned professional whose value was clear to everyone. Then came the transfer that changed everything. On February 9, 1979, Trevor Francis made history by becoming the first British footballer transferred for £1 million when he moved from Birmingham City to Nottingham Forest. The actual fee was £1.15 million, more than double the previous British record. This wasn't just a big number, it was a complete game changer for football economics. The fee caused a national sensation in the United Kingdom, and the £1 million man label became a permanent part of Francis's identity. Nottingham Forest manager Brian Clough handled the pressure brilliantly. At the press conference, Clough famously said the fee was £999 to prevent the milestone from going to the player's head. He even showed up wearing a red gym kit and carrying a squash racket, making the whole thing memorable while protecting his new star from too much pressure. The relationship between Francis and Clough was fascinating and complex. Clough had a unique management style that included psychological mind games. He made Francis run errands, like making tea for other players. Once, he sent Francis to find his own shin pads before a game, telling him he had paid too much for his legs to risk them. During a European match against Oosters, Clough even refused Francis entry to the dressing room and made him use a public toilet while the team talk happened. Another time, he left Francis stranded in a lay-by after a cup match as a show of his absolute authority. These weren't cruel acts though. They were Clough's way of keeping everyone humble and building team spirit. His method was to treat everyone the same, whether they were the star player or anyone else on the team. Clough's brilliance lay in his ability to demand respect and create discipline through these unconventional methods. Francis understood this perfectly. In later interviews, he said it was a privilege and a pleasure to play under Clough, and that he and his teammates had the greatest respect for him. This dynamic shows how different football management was back then compared to today's player-focused approach. Clough's style was based on absolute authority and psychological conditioning, which worked perfectly in that era. Francis's acceptance of these methods shows the generational difference in how players and managers work together. The £1 million transfer truly paid off in the most dramatic way possible. Joining Forest mid-season, Francis couldn't play in the early rounds of the European Cup because of registration rules, but his timing was perfect for the final. On May 30th, 1979, in Munich's Olympic Stadium, Nottingham Forest faced Swedish side Malmö for the European Cup. The match was goalless until just before half-time, when Francis scored with an amazing diving low header that sent the ball high into the net. It was the only goal of the game and won Forest their first ever European Cup. One commentator perfectly captured the moment. The £1 million man puts his name on the score sheet and returns a great deal of the cheque. Francis had justified his record fee in the most spectacular way. The goal wasn't just a moment of brilliance, but also a powerful story conclusion to months of headlines about his transfer. His teammate Gary Birtles remembered that despite the pressure of being the most expensive player, Francis was very humble, very quiet, and a joy to be around, and fitted in brilliantly with the team. The following year, Francis helped Forest win the European Cup again, though he sadly missed the final against Hamburg due to an Achilles injury. Francis's career continued to break new ground after Nottingham Forest. In September 1981, he moved to Manchester City for £1.2 million, setting another British transfer record. His debut was perfect. He scored twice to thrill over 10,000 City supporters who had travelled to Stoke City to watch the game. Then he made a pioneering move to Italy, something very rare for English players at that time. From 1982 to 1986, he played for Sampdoria, where he won the Coppa Italia in the 1984-85 season and was the Cup's top scorer with 9 goals in 11 games. He was only the second Englishman ever to play for the club. He also played for Atalanta, establishing himself in Italy's prestigious Serie A league. Later, he returned to Britain with spells at Rangers in Scotland, where he won the Scottish League Cup in 1987-88 and Queen's Park Rangers. He even had a loan spell in Australia with Wollongong City. For England, Francis was a consistent performer, earning 52 caps and scoring 12 goals between 1976 and 1986. He represented his country at the 1982 World Cup, proving his quality on the international stage. His career spanned from the second division in the early 1970s to the Premier League in the 1990s, demonstrating the global nature of his talent. When his playing days ended, Francis moved into management. He took charge of 4 clubs, including 2 of his former teams. His managerial career began as player-manager at Queen's Park Rangers in 1988, followed by a successful period at Sheffield Wednesday from 1991 to 1995. At Wednesday, he won the League Cup and achieved promotion to the top flight in 1991. Francis later returned to Birmingham City, managing from 1996 to 2001. He famously guided the Blues to the Worthington Cup final as a second division side. He also managed Crystal Palace before stepping away from management in 2003. Though his teams often reached finals, they were frequently runners-up. Over 632 managed games, his overall win percentage was a respectable 42.9%. After management, Francis became a respected media personality, working as a football speaker, pundit, and commentator for broadcasters like Sky Sports and Al Jazeera Sports. His extensive playing and managerial experience gave him a wealth of stories to share about the football world, making him a popular guest at corporate events. The most powerful tribute to Francis's life came after his death with the unveiling of a 13-foot bronze statue at St Andrews, Birmingham City's home stadium. The statue, crafted by sculptor Douglas Jennings, stands proudly in front of the Kop stand as a permanent tribute to the club's greatest ever player. The chosen pose is particularly meaningful. It shows Francis in a dynamic, celebratory pose from his final season with Birmingham City before his historic move to Nottingham Forest. This choice honours him first as a local hero, the boy wonder who lit up St Andrews as a teenage sensation. The statue celebrates the talent that made his record-breaking transfer possible, rather than just the transfer itself. It grounds his legacy in his origins and shows how much he meant to the Birmingham community where his professional journey began. The £1 Million Man label, which initially felt like pressure, ultimately became a source of pride and a key part of his legendary status. It marked him as a trailblazer and a symbol of a new era for football. His transfer opened the floodgates for the massive spending that would define modern football, paving the way for the astronomical fees we see in today's Premier League era. Trevor Francis was truly a man of firsts, the first British £1 Million footballer, a pioneer in American and Italian leagues, and a manager who achieved promotion and cup success. His story shows talent, ambition, and grace under pressure. The burden of his historic transfer fee was always there, but he carried it with quiet strength and resilience, proving his worth on the biggest stages time and time again. Francis's legacy goes far beyond the numbers on a transfer sheet or the records he set. It's defined by the goal that won a European Cup, the respect he earned as a player, and the dignity he showed as a manager and person. His career perfectly reflected football's transformation from the 1970s to the new millennium, bridging different eras of the sport. Most importantly, his lasting impression is of a man whose humility and humanity shone through all the fame and glamour of his incredible career, proving that true greatness comes from character as much as talent.